Welcome to the At a Total Loss podcast, where real life lost moms talk about stillbirth, baby loss, grief, survival, and all things in between. I'm Catherine, a lost mom to my beautiful son Brody, who died at full term and was stillborn in January of 2022. I had no idea what to do after his death, and I thought the sadness was going to kill me. So I immediately reached out to other lost moms to try to find somebody who knew how I felt. And it was these conversations that saved me, and I hope that they can do the same for you. We talk about everything. I even interview support people and partners, people who have another perspective on what this life of loss is like. So here we are, you guys. Pull up a chair, maybe grab some tissues, shoot, maybe even a glass of wine, as we hash out what life looks like after the death of your baby and all the things that leave us at a total loss. Hi, babe.
Hi. I was a telemarketer in college, and I always feel like that when I put these headphones on.
You're giving me the vibe. She's giving me
little bit.
telemarketer. I love it.
Maybe by the end I can sell you something. We'll see.
Hey, you probably could from what I've seen. Absolutely could. I'm ready for that. Your hair looks great.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Mine's clearly not done as usual. It's my trademark at this point.
That's fine.
Do you have like video calls like all day?
It depends on the day, but yeah, I often do. A lot of times it's not video though. It's just talking to people and through WebEx. So I only hear them, and it drives me crazy. I don't like talking to people when I can't see their face. And as you can tell, I talk with my hands. So I'm just doing this all day to myself, but that's okay.
We do a lot of things to ourselves all day. As far as I think one of my favorite things you said was you were talking to a van in public because it had something
all the time
of Sienna Grace on there.
Yeah, I'm just the crazy lady talking to vans, and I don't even care.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we're at this point.
Yep. Yeah.
So how is today for you?
Today is good. Yeah, I don't know, I'm sure you're going through the same, but the holidays are just a mess. And I don't know, I just try to take each day as it comes. And yesterday I decided I don't want to put up a tree, but Sienna should have a tree. So I got this really pretty one that I found that it's glass and it lights up. And my husband was like, I love that idea, because he is not into decorating for Christmas, and usually I am. So I think he's actually slightly happy this year that I'm not decorating, because usually I'm taking all this stuff out of the attic and putting up a tree. And yeah, there's none of that this year. I don't feel it.
Yeah, no, I understand. Well, I appreciate you hopping on and chatting. We've been chatting because our babies died around or were born around, you were the 16th of January.
Yes,
I'm the 18th.
yes.
Yeah. So within days.
2 days.
Somebody said something to me recently, and I thought about you because it was like, it happens every single day. It happens every 20 minutes or so around the world, or something crazy like that, maybe even less. And it was wild that she realized that somebody the next day was going to go through that, and the day after that, and the day after that. So like me in that hospital had no clue that you had done this 2 days prior.
Right.
It's pretty
Yeah,
insane.
we were in the hospital at the same time, and I don't know. I think every time you think about that, it's the reason why we keep doing what we're doing, why we're trying to get the word out and make this stop, because I don't want anyone else going through this if they absolutely don't have to. So
yeah, I mean, the reason why I wanted to talk to you, many reasons. We've covered a lot of ground, us talking in the last few months.
Yeah.
But you are involved with an organization that helps families in the hospitals. You are involved with advocacy. We're both trying to push the Shine for Autumn Act. You are very open on social about the ups and downs and the ins and outs and the waves of your grief, the ways that you honor. You have so many points that I want to talk about. But what I like to do, and you've listened, but I want to give you the mic, and I want you to take us back as far as you want to go in your story, so that we can kind of set this up, so we can get the background on Sienna Grace and what she was like when you were pregnant, and how far back you want to go, and whatever you're feeling. I always put in the description of this the details. So if you don't feel like talking about that, absolutely fine. But the floor is yours to give us your story.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about how far back I wanted to go, and I feel like it has to go back to really the beginning of my marriage because I found out I had endometriosis in 2007. I had spent years trying to get a diagnosis and had so much pain, and finally, went in for laparoscopic surgery and found out that's what I had. And I was dating my husband at the time, and I pretty much, at that age already was told you're going to have difficulty getting pregnant. You may struggle to have a baby. So it was something, we knew even in dating that this was going to be something a little more complicated, but we both figured, we'll do what we can. And I am thankful every day that he loves me for me. So
Yeah.
he, has got me through everything. But we got married in 2010, and then, typical couple, you want to enjoy some time together. And I was also working on my master's, so I wanted to finish that before we really started trying to have a baby. So that was around 2012. And so it was really 9 years of trying to have a baby and a lot of steps, a lot of, just trying so many different things, visiting different fertility clinics, a lot of things that obviously failed. And all the while, I think the hardest part of infertility is most people have no idea what you're going through.
Mm.
You're keeping it quiet because really
Mhm.
it's no one's business, but
Mhm.
you're carrying all of that around all the time. And, we had a few close friends that knew, but for the most part, people were just like, oh my gosh, you guys will be so cute when you have kids. And, then it was, well, when are you having kids? And then it
Mhm.
turned into this awkward silence because I think they were afraid to ask. Or you had a few people who were, oh, well, of course you'll have a baby. Like it was just an easy thing. And we finally did do IVF. And that was something that we, went back and forth on for a long time. It's extremely expensive. We were both educators, not rolling in dough. So it was really tough. And we were like, okay, we're going to try this, see what happens. And then lo and behold, oh my gosh, we're pregnant with Sienna. So that was really hard for us to believe. And I think especially for my husband, it was like, is this real? And
Mm.
every appointment, it was just like one little step, one little step. And I remember every time, like just trying to take deep breaths in the car before I went in. I have anxiety anyway, so
Yeah.
it was through the roof. And, a lot of prayer. And every time I had a healthy checkup, it was like, oh my gosh, thank you. Like we got one more step closer. And it was a really big deal when we hit the anatomy scan and everything looked beautiful and perfect. And then when we hit viability, that was a big step for us. I think that's when we finally were like, oh wow, this could really happen. And we had done genetic testing and we knew, genetically everything was fine. And we knew that she was a girl, but we didn't tell anyone her name. So that was just between the two of us, which was
Yeah.
really neat. And I don't know, we were so excited but cautious the entire time. And every appointment I had, they were like, oh my gosh, she's so healthy. She's growing perfectly. Her heartbeat is right where it should be. So we never really had any concerns other than I had placenta previa, which they basically just told me, don't work out, which that was tough for me because before I was a competitive power lifter.
Mm.
So all of that went out the window. So that was a little hard. I was like, okay, and let's go for another walk and another walk and another walk. Like that's really all I was allowed to do. But that was fine. And then around 36 weeks, so it was actually pretty close to this time last year. I don't know what happened, but I got really, really sick and kept vomiting. I like 9 times. And finally, my husband's like, we need to go. Like, there's something not right. We need to get you to the hospital. So they get me in, and I'm in triage. I'm still throwing up. I was like, good grief, just give me a bed. So they finally get me hooked up, and they're like, you're so dehydrated. They were worried about me. Again, Sienna is great, strong heartbeat, doing well, like no concerns about her whatsoever. It was just, okay, let's get you back to normal and get you rehydrated. So they kept me overnight and they said, while you're here, we're also going to do a check of your placenta previa. And they're like, if you do still have it, we're probably going to go ahead and deliver her. And if not, you'll just go home. I was like, okay. So the next morning, they do the scan, everything's fine. And they're like, yep, you're just a normal pregnant lady now. So you get to go home. And we're like, all right, now we feel weird because we kind of prepped, like, oh, maybe she's coming. And so went home and we waited and we waited and we waited. And I hit 39 weeks and I had switched practices because the first one I was at was not great. And they had said, around 39 weeks, we're probably going to induce you because you're, advanced maternal age. I know you got that too. I was 37, good grief. But anywho, so that was, their thing. And then also because she had been an IVF baby. So I asked about that at the new practice. I was like, okay, I'm 39 weeks. Are we talking about induction? And it was the day, if I've ever been mansplained, that was the day I was mansplained. This guy was like, "Oh no, we don't do that. That's ridiculous. That's like all that hippie stuff." And like he just completely blew me off. And I was like, okay. And it's one of those, if I knew then what I know now, I wish I would have said, "Hey, can I speak to someone else?" I mean, it's a huge practice. There's tons of people. I could have seen a different person, but he just made me feel silly for even asking. So I went back home, came back at 40 weeks, again, healthy, everything looks good. And so at that point, I'm just getting uncomfortable. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
had been sick. I think I had an upper respiratory infection or something. So again, just me, not her. She's fine. And I asked, I said, can we talk induction? Like I've hit 40 weeks. What are we doing here? And it was a midwife. And again, she was like, "Oh no, it's fine. She's so healthy. We're just going to let her come when she wants to." And this was when I mentioned, I said, "Well, I feel like she's not moving quite as much." Definitely moving, like every morning, like clockwork. When I got out of bed, I could always feel her move. But I said, "I just feel like she's not moving quite as much." And she was like, "Well, of course not. She's running out of room." And like those words now just haunt me. And so I asked, I said, "Well, can I request an induction?" And she was like, "Well, technically, yes, but because we have a waiting list, you would be on the waiting list. And whenever we would fit you in, we would fit you in because we have other emergency situations. And there's no medical reason for you to have one." So I was like, "All right, can we get me on that list?" And so the list was for like 10 days out or something. It was ridiculous. And then she had a non-stress test scheduled for the day after when I hit 41 weeks. So again, I just left and that was all. So went back home, we waited, we waited, we waited. And then finally, exactly 41 weeks, it was a Sunday, January 16th. I woke up around 5:30 in the morning and I was really uncomfortable. And I had had Braxton Hicks for weeks, so I was kind of like, "All right, is this it or not?" Like we've had stop and go a lot of times here, so I'm not quite sure. And then it started ramping up. So I remember that morning, I was like, "All right, I'm bound and determined. I'm going to stay home for a while. I'm going to tough it out." So I'm sitting on a ball, like eating cereal because I'd been told, like, make sure you eat before you go in, and make sure you're ready. So I kept waiting and kept waiting. My husband is pacing, like he cannot sit still. He's like, "Are we going yet? Are we going yet? What are we doing?" So finally, I think it was around 10:30 or 11, I was like, "Okay, I think we should probably go." And I live 5 minutes from the hospital. So we get in there and they're like, "Yep, definitely. You're in labor. You're staying. Let's get things going." And the rest of the day was relatively normal. Like I tried to tough it out as much as I could, and then finally said enough is enough and got an epidural. And then I took a nap. Like I just laid down and I remember I was listening to like some calm music and I could hear her heart beating. I could hear my heart and just relaxed. And all of a sudden I was like, I feel a lot of water, like something's going on. And they're like, "Oh yeah, definitely. Like you're at a 10, your water broke, we're ready to go." And it just all moved a lot quicker than I thought it was going to. I had prepared for, oh, first time baby, it takes forever. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, we're really doing this." So I pushed for about 2.5 hours and she was just wedged. Like she was really comfortable, did not want to move. And it kind of just got to the point where they were like, "Well, we can't really help you. We can't assist you. So, if she's just going to stay in that same spot, we probably need to move to a C-section, but we'll let you make the choice." And so it wasn't an emergency situation or anything. We all just kind of talked about it. And my midwife that day was incredible. Like she was so wonderful, but she's like, "Once we switch over to a C-section, I have to turn you over to the surgeon, but I would still like to come with you." And I was like, "Yeah, great. Like, let's go." So we decided to move to the C-section, and my husband texted both his family and my family and was like, "Hey, we're going. She should be here really soon. I will let you know when she's here." And we went in, and I just remember, to me, it seemed like it took a long time for her to come out, but obviously I have no clue what's going on. I'm staring at a ceiling with bright lights, and I just heard lots more people coming in, and I kept waiting. I was like, "Okay, I'm going to hear her cry. I'm going to hear her cry." And there was nothing. And then I finally hear that she's out and there's nothing. And I was like, "Okay, maybe she just needs a little bit of help." I know sometimes babies come out and they need a little bit of help. So I remember, I was like, "Oh, I knew this is when I was going to cry." I remember praying to God, like, okay, just take care of her. Whatever she needs, just take care of her. And all this time went by, and I still wasn't hearing anything except people shuffling around in the room. And I remember this nurse came over to the side and she said, we did everything we could. I'm so sorry. And I remember my husband just starting to cry. And I don't know what your husband is like, but mine just, he does not cry very often. I think our dog's dying is the only other reason that I
Mhm.
ever saw him cry. And he was just sobbing. And I just remember saying, I, I'm just not meant to be a mom, because that's how it felt. I was like, how have I gone this far? How have we waited this long? And then go through an entire pregnancy, be told the whole time that she's so healthy, that everything's great, no emergency whatsoever. And then she's just gone. I was like, how is this even possible? And then I laid there for a long time. I don't remember. It seemed like forever, but I couldn't even cry. I remember the lady who was helping with the anesthesiologist. She was crying over top of me and her tears were like dripping down onto my face. But
Oh,
I think I
geez.
was in so much shock. I couldn't even cry. But my husband was holding her and he just kept saying, she's so beautiful. She's so beautiful. And that's all I wanted. I was like, just get me out of this room because I want to see her. Like, I think I still didn't believe it was real. So we got back to the room and I was finally able to hold her and she was just absolutely beautiful.
You told me
And
she was a little chunk, right? She was over 8
she
pounds?
was
Yeah.
chubby, yeah,
It's so
8 pounds,
sweet.
10 ounces, which I was 8'11", so it's like almost exactly the same. But her features were so perfect and she had dark curly hair like I did when I was little. And I remember like holding her little hand and kissing her cheek. And I think what we weren't prepared for is that she was categorized as a stillbirth, and that really surprised us because we were like, "Well, how is that possible?" And they said because she never took a breath on her own, she was considered stillborn. So she would not have a birth certificate, she would not have Social Security, she would not have a death certificate, she wouldn't be able to have insurance or anything. And so I was like, "So I'm holding this baby, and you're telling me that she doesn't really exist?" Like I just couldn't mentally, wrap my head around that. And the the problem, so I then had post eclampsia, post
Mhm.
preeclampsia. So I have my blood pressure's through the roof. I'm swelling like crazy. I'm shaking uncontrollably. So they're all worried about me. And I remember I wanted to just scream, get away from me. Like, I
Mhm.
don't care if I make it or not. This is the only time I'm going to get with her. But they were worried about getting me under control. So they asked, I remember they mentioned something about now I lay me down to sleep, but we didn't know what that was at the time. And the way they described it, and this is like midnight at that point, they made it sound like, oh, they have to come from somewhere else. And we're like, they made it sound like it was a difficult thing. So we're like, so do we do that? Do we not do that? Like we were so confused. So then there was a bereavement coordinator who said, I can take some photos of her if you want. We can give her a bath, we can dress her. And that's when we realized we're like, our other bag with all of her stuff is in our car. It's January, it's freezing,
Mhm.
and we're parked all the way across the parking lot. And so they're like, no, it's okay. We have a dress, we have a bonnet. We can do all of that for you and we'll bring her back. And I'm so thankful they did. I'm so thankful I have the pictures that I do. But now, knowing what I know about now, I lay me down to sleep. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish we would have done that instead. But we just didn't know. And when she came back, they had her all bundled up perfectly in her, she had this really cute hat on her head. And, I held her and that's when I called my mom. And all I could get out was she didn't make it. And I remember my mom screaming. And both of our families live in Pennsylvania. We're in Virginia. So they got in the car and just drove straight down. And we did have a cuddle cot. Thank goodness. That's the
Mhm.
other thing I'm just so thankful for. But I didn't hold her after that. And that's something people have asked me about, like, do you regret that? And I said, no, because I held her when she was warm, when she felt like a baby, and for people that have used a cuddle cot, it's part of why it works so well is it makes them cold. It keeps them at a cooler temperature. And I did not want to remember her like that. I wanted to remember her as my baby.
Mhm.
So she did. My parents and my husband's parents all got to come down. They all got to see her and hold her, and I was just so grateful for that.
Mhm.
And I remember being in the room, and I asked for a room away from the mom and baby unit. I said, "Please don't put me there." And she was in the cuddle cot, and I just kept staring at her, and she just looked so perfect. And I was like, "She's gonna wake up. She's gonna wake up. Like this isn't really happening. I'm having a terrible dream, and she's gonna wake up." And obviously she didn't. And then that night we said goodbye, and I was glad we didn't have her for too long because it's like
Mm.
eventually, they start to look different,
Mhm.
and I wanted to remember her as best we could. And we ended up, she was cremated, and Steve, my husband, he picked out the most beautiful urn from her. It came from Poland. He's like,
Oh.
"This is the one I want. This is the one I
Oh.
picked out for her." And it was like that was something that he could do for her. And just having her come back to the house, that that meant a lot to us. And just having her here, and I talk to her every day. Again, we the things we do that we never think we would, but she's safe and sound with us. So
Cheers. Mm. You have so many moments in this story that I'm sure leave you going over them all the time, over and over again. Everything from how different the two practices were with their protocols, in their delivery and their even bedside manner, it sounds like, and then to have them not even try to give you an answer because you said that you opted not for no testing, no autopsy, nothing.
right.
Did they approach you with that option?
They did. Yeah, they asked if we wanted one. I think at the time, and I've heard other women on your podcast say this. You are asked to make the toughest decisions in a time when you can't even think straight.
Yeah.
So, and we have never wavered on that. I think it was just the thought of giving her up and them doing testing to her.
Oh
Like it
yeah.
was just too
Horrific.
much for us to take on. And our thought was, does it bring her back? No. But I think I just was surprised at how flippant they were. That it's like, I will say, everyone, they were wonderful in how they took care of us. Every single person who was in that room stopped by over the next few days to check on us. And you could tell they were just gutted. And, they kept saying, "We're so sorry. We don't know how this happened." And, the thing we all hear is, "Oh, this is so rare. This is, something that rarely happens." Well, now, especially with the work that I do supporting hospitals, I know that's not true. So I wish that would stop. I wish
Mm.
this is so rare. We don't like it's not. Don't pretend like we're the exception to the rule and this never happens to anyone else. That's not true. And then I felt like the thing I kept hearing was, "Well, it'll be so much better next time. It'll be so different. You'll be treated differently. You'll have better care." But it shouldn't take someone losing a child to get better care. Better care should be the standard care.
Mm.
And I know, we've all said that. That's not something that I'm alone in. So they were, I think, as good as they could be, but
Yeah.
I I don't know. I've gone over it a lot. It's something, in therapy I work on constantly. Something that keeps me up at night a lot, and I tell myself what I would tell another mom, and that's we do the best we can with what
Mhm.
we know at the time. And now that we know so much more, yeah, we're going to be those annoying people that try to get that out for other people because I don't want them to go through this. And I had one of my best friends, I think right around when Sienna passed away, she found out that she was pregnant with a little girl. And, she was one of the first ones that I was like, "Are they talking to you about kick counting? Are you using Count the Kicks?" Like, I made sure I gave her that information because I was like, we are not having a repeat scenario here. And, as much as it hurts that I am seeing, other friends having babies, yeah, I want them arriving safely and I want everybody to be safe. So, yeah.
So you said that they were kind of, so in a nutshell, your care on a scale of 0 to 10. Do you feel that if it had changed, if it was different, this could have been a different story? Or do you feel that this was just inevitable and something just was wrong?
We wonder if there was something with her heart,
Yeah.
because they said most likely, she was not able at any point to be resuscitated. And I did push for 2.5 hours, and there's a lot of deacceleration that happens, and that's a lot of trauma on a baby's heart. So it may
Mhm.
just not have recovered. But I think what I will always wonder is if she had been delivered at 39 or 40 weeks, would that have made a difference? That's what I will always wonder.
Right.
Um, but again, you're a first time mom. You don't know, am I supposed to push back on this? And when they tell you that there's no reason not to, like my blood pressure was great, my weight was great, didn't see anything coming up when they did my urine test. Like, I'm checking all the boxes and her heart rate is great. Her growth is right where it should be. So I understand from
Mm.
their vantage point, there wasn't a reason. And my husband often reminds me of this. He's like, Crystal, the same thing could have happened. They could have induced you
At
and
39, yeah.
she's still right. And if it was her heart, it was her heart. Or, something else could have like you don't know. And
It's
so I
true,
think
yeah.
that's where I let myself, if I need to do the spiral, I let myself do the spiral, but then I have to kind of say enough is enough. Like we've
Right.
been through this and it's not going to change. But, they said, they're like, well, if you are able to have another baby, which who knows, but they're like, we would not let you go past 37 weeks. I'm like, yeah, 37 weeks. I was really healthy and she was right on track to probably be about 6.5, 7 pounds. So, when you hear things like that, it's a gut punch.
Yeah, the care that we get after the fact is pretty night and day, which is astounding. And I think you said it, and I'm a big advocate for this. It's we will forever go through the details in our head of what we could have changed, but we walk away from it at the end of the day and say we did the best we could with the information we had, and it there was no reason to suspect something was severely wrong. I think the issue that you and I will have, and this is why we tacked ourselves onto certain things like, advocacy groups and organizations like the Shine for Autumn Act and things like that, because if we had a little bit more discussion on this as a potential outcome, which would have made us a little bit more, maybe advocate a little bit more for ourselves. But even then, like, who are we going to do? Fight the doctors? Not anybody. I knew nobody who had a baby die and was stillborn. Not one. I knew people who had miscarriages and issues, but nobody at full term. And so it was like almost like this is not an option. Like I thought forever that maybe he would be born early and maybe we do a stint in the NIC, but it's like that's not even discussed either. So I think all of this was such an epic shock where I think even the prop to try to process that this is the outcome when we didn't know it was a potential outcome is like one of the worst parts of the whole thing. And I think afterwards, and I want to talk to you about this, what the stages of your grief have looked like as we're approaching 11 months. It's like you're obviously traumatized physically and you had a C-section, which is big recovery. You are going over the fact that the baby's not here, but your body thinks it is. Not only that, it's the, oh my God, how did this happen? What just happened? Because it happened so fast. And so what were the early days for you like? Because I know you just said spiral. That's my favorite word because the spirals will happen all the time and they were happening pretty much every day, all day in the very beginning for me. What was it like for you in the very beginning and how have you gotten to this point?
Yeah. I think the biggest shock for us was you're going in having a baby. Like we were in labor and, the car seat is ready to go. We had everything ready, like a perfect nursery. We were spoiled with how much stuff people gave us. And at the time, I worked in a school system and it was the same school system as my husband. So everyone knew us, and everyone knew we were having a baby. It was a it was a big deal. The Midlicks are having a baby, because they had, seen us for years and known that was something that we wanted. So we were like, what do we do now? Like, how do we go home and not have anything? And my parents and his parents were so wonderful. They literally ran around our house, cleaning up everything and putting everything into her room. And that's something I still struggle with. I can barely open that door. I will run in to grab something real quick and that's about it. Like, it's a room I just can't be in because it's hers. Like, that's where she was supposed to be. And, I think you and I both talked about this. We got a bigger house because we were having a baby. So now it's a bigger house that's empty and quiet. And it was just, I remember for the first week, it was just going through the motions of life. Like, take your medicine, eat because you have to take your medicine, take a shower because, oh my God, you haven't showered in 3 days. And, my mom was helping me to do all of that. And then when she went home, my husband was helping me. So it was just little, like, step by step to physically get through the
Mm.
day. Like, mentally, I don't even know where I was. And then I think the other part that was shocking to us is that at first my husband was going to be expected to go back to work after 7 days because bereavement for a child is 7 days. And we're like, how is that even possible? So, luckily, as I use air quotes, because I had a C-section and I didn't have anyone else to take care of me, he was then allowed to take longer from work so that he could stay home to take care of me. It was like, what world are we living in where 7 days is enough when your child dies? I
That's
just don't
outrageous.
understand that.
Mm-mm.
But
There's
I
so
think
many
I
things
was
I keep
surprised
bumping into that are
I know.
outrageous.
I know.
Jesus.
I think the first week was the worst. I definitely was still swelling terribly. My legs were like tree trunks. I was wearing, like, I think my dad's socks because nothing else fit over my feet. And I had, my blood pressure was still through the roof, and we were just trying to get that under control. And then once that got better, I think I was surprised physically. I actually recovered better than I expected from the C-section, which then just pissed me off because I was like, okay, I'm recovering great, which would be awesome if I had a baby here, but I don't. So now it's like I physically felt like I could go do more stuff, but mentally I'm a train wreck. So then, I had people who they gave me coloring books and puzzles, and like it was very nice, but I'm like, if I have to do one more puzzle, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like, I needed to be doing something,
Yeah.
And then to lead into talking about weighted angels, but when we were leaving, we, had this box, and they're like, oh, that has all of Sienna's things in it. And we're like, okay. And we're thinking, what does she even have? But all right. And so my mom picks the box up and she's like, why is this so heavy? And we didn't know what it was. So she opens it and there's this moose, and I have him here so you could see him, but this is
Yay.
Odin the
Oh,
moose.
he's so cute.
Yeah. So, I mean, he weighs 8 pounds. So we didn't know
Wow.
at the time what he was, but my mom, carries the box out. I'm like, yeah, just take it home. We'll figure it out. So maybe a week went by, and then I finally looked through everything that was in the box, and it was, the bonnet that she had worn and the dress that she had worn and some of her feet prints and, different things. And then this moose, and I figured out that it was from an organization called Weighted Angels. And so they create these weighted stuffed animals, and they are matched to the baby's weight. So because Sienna was 8 pounds 10 ounces, any baby that's around 8 pounds gets an Odin moose. And he's named for a little baby boy, Odin, who had also passed away, and he weighed 8 pounds 10 ounces as well. So it was like, oh my gosh, they're exact same weight. Like, this is wild. So I go to their website and I find out that all of these moms have started this organization, and they have different animals for each weight, and they deliver to local hospitals around the area. And I was like, this is incredible. Like, like, immediately I was like, I have to get involved. I have to meet these women. Like, it was the first time I felt connected to someone else. 'Cause like you said, I didn't know anyone else this had happened to. I had a lot of friends that had miscarriages and some that had later miscarriages, and I knew how hard that was, but nothing like this. So you feel like the weirdest person, and you can't connect to anybody. So I started basically Instagram stalking a couple of them. And, oh well, I don't feel bad. But I sent some messages and, just thanked them and was like, if there's anything I can do to get involved. And they're probably like, oh my gosh, who is this lady? Like, it hasn't even been this long and you're already wanting to jump in. But I just had to start doing something. I was like, I cannot sit in my house and do puzzles and color all day. Like, this is going to it's going to drive me insane. So I was really thankful to connect with them, and I did. I jumped headfirst. I joined their board, and now, that's what I spend a lot of my time doing, is working with them, because we've seen that we're not alone in this. And we've found now we're moving into 9 hospitals. It was 7. We're adding 2 more. But even with the 7 hospitals, we had over 150 families per year. So don't tell me that we're alone in this. We're
Ugh.
not. We're not that rare. This is happening often. And, every time we get requests for more, because we get some, individual requests as well from people who hear it about us. And we try to do about 10 individual requests a month. We would like that to grow, but there's only 4 of us on the board right now. So we, try to do what we can within our span, but it's heartbreaking. But then we know, like, we're just trying to give a little bit of comfort to some other families and let them know, yeah, you're not alone in this. We're here too. We're trying to just get through each day. And, the other thing that really saved me was finding people on Instagram and finding people like you, because you realize there's people all around the world that this is happening to, and it's where you go to not feel so alone. And that was the other thing that really helped me through my grief. And then I think the third thing was getting professional help, if I'm being 100% honest. I don't know for you where you felt like your roughest time was, but June for me was brutal. Like, I don't know, would it have been 5 months, I guess?
Mm-hmm.
But that was when, and a lot happened in June. My brother and his wife, they had a COVID wedding, so it was really small. So they were having a second ceremony, and it was at the beach, Cape May in New Jersey. It was beautiful. Like, it should have been such a magical experience. And I was miserable, and I was so uncomfortable. And I barely was able to participate because I just could not get myself together. And then the following week, we went on vacation. It was both sides of our family. It's all these people in this house. And I wanted to run. I was like, I don't want to be here. This is terrible. I don't want to do this. And my husband was like, I think you need some serious help. Like, this is not you. And I think you reach that point where it's like that I'm a shell of myself, and I can't keep living like this. So what do we do? And so that's when I, was able to find a psychiatrist and a really good therapist, and it made a world of a difference, because I could not have kept going the direction I was.
You put in work, girl. You have clawed your way
That's
to
no
being
lie.
able to function and smile and laugh and honor your baby. I mean,
Yeah.
my God. First of all, the Weighted Angels is phenomenal. I think that is so needed and so necessary. And they're so adorable. They're just so cute. I
Yeah,
have a weighted bear, but I really love the penguin. And
I know.
He's
That's
so
my penguin.
cute. And the
There's our
picture
little.
behind you.
Mhm.
Oh, it's so special. I love that. That's so great. And I think you said it. It's like you can't stay in your house, and then because it becomes a wallow and it becomes dark, and then it becomes almost impossible to get
Mhm.
out. And
Yeah.
as hard as it is, and like, you didn't choose something random as hell. You chose literally to dive into the world of loss. And that's so interesting to me. And I've been having this conversation a lot. And Farrell, the one I just did last week, the photographer, she was like, she dove into being a photographer in these hospitals for the babies that have died. And it's like, she just said how hard it is, but it's where she wants to be, as horrible as it is. And same, I'm diving into these conversations all the time, every single day, and putting them out there. As hard as it is, it's what we've chosen to do. And you're doing the same thing. So it's amazing that you've chosen this path. And I know that every single second that you're spending on it is for Sienna. Like, it's the only way to keep her name going. And not the only way, but it's a way to keep her name going forever. And then, seeking out professional help. A lot of people have stigmatized professional help in some weird way. I'm like, I wear a shirt that says I go to therapy. Like, I don't understand how you survive this without talking about it. Not only to have a professional look at you and say, hey, what you're feeling is normal. That's one thing that I wanted. Right after, I felt like an alien. I still do. But right after, I was like, what the hell? Am I doing this right? Like, even grief, I was like, I don't know. Am I crazy? Am I going too far with this? I took myself off of all of the mood stabilizing medications. And I was like, I actually felt better. And I was like, well, is this right? To have somebody say to you, everything you're doing is okay. Everything you're okay. And this is what we're going to do step by step. I think that is just so important. And to seek that out is a big step, is a huge step, especially when and you said you become a shell of yourself. That is so hard. That's a big realization that everything that you knew and you thought about life was out the fucking window. It's gone out the window. Everything happens for a reason. Say your prayers, things like that. And you question your faith, you question your religion, you question your own body, you question your own intuitions. And then you kind of look around and you look at people who are happy and you're like, that's not going to last long. That was never us. Like, ew. Sometimes I'm like, oh, Kat, oh, you are twisted, you dumb bitch. And it's like, how do you take the pieces that are now you and try to make them, I don't even want to say the word attractive, but make you like being you. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. So I do think, I was talking about this with my husband the other day. I think who you are, pieces of it are still there, and then some of it is amplified. Like
Yes.
I am a go-getter person. Like if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it 100%. My friends know that. You either find that endearing or annoying. And
Yeah.
either way, like there's no middle ground.
So true.
But it just shifted. So instead of, whatever I used to put my energy into, this is it now. So get on board or don't. It's totally fine. I'm not going to be offended either way. And I think that's why I did start, a separate Instagram account. But it's so funny because I did that when I was powerlifting. Like that's what I used Instagram for. It was like, here's all of my powerlifting moves and here's my new PR. Ooh, look at me. And like now I think about that and I want to gag. I'm like, who was watching these videos of me like squatting, deadlifting, whatever? And now it's like, nope, I don't have time for that. I still love the gym, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but I'm not as worried about that. Now I'm like, no, there's something actually serious I could be, advocating for or sharing or just connecting with other women that were like, what the hell is going on? And you just feel, yeah, you feel a little less crazy for that day because you connected to a random person who lives somewhere else in the country or in another country.
I
But
know. I'm
they
like,
they
yeah.
they get you better than some of the people in your own life.
So true. I never thought in a bajillion years I'd be commenting on a random stranger's posts. And they are like, and we're just going, yeah, babe, we love this. And it's just like, it's like the craziest part of me that I've never experienced before. And I totally see that. But I got to be honest, it's these conversations that literally, even when I'm not having them, I think about them because there was I don't know, for some reason this month has been like really challenging. November was really hard. And I remember saying, why this? Why is this my life? Do I get a redo? Do I get to do this over again? And then it hit me. I'm like, there's so many women doing the same thing. It's not their fault because it's not my fault because I would never say to them it's theirs. And if they're getting through this day, so can I. And know that you have my back silently, even if I'm not talking to you. And it's been literally such a survival tool and a coping mechanism. So I never thought I would say God bless Instagram because I thought it was awful for so long.
I know. And it is. It's there are times where you're like, I'm going to explode if I don't get this out. And then, you'll post a story and you have all of these women that are like, oh my gosh, I felt the same way. And it immediately just makes you feel more calm, you feel validated. And I don't know, like there have been so many days that saves me because I'm like, I can't share this with anybody else. Most other people are going to think I'm insane. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do. I very much appreciate it. And I think it's just finding that balance too. I do notice sometimes, you can't spend too much time there. Like you do have to, engage in your real life as well. And I think that's the other part of me that tried and true, I am an introvert and that's not changing. That's been amplified as well because now I hit a limit and I hit a wall where I have spent enough time out in the world and now I need to go back into my little hobbit hole and just hang out with myself. So I've noticed my husband even now, like he is much more extroverted than me, but he hits that point too. We look at each other and we're like, yep, time to go home. So I think, things that were always at the heart of me are still there. They
Mm.
just, maybe in some ways have altered a little bit, but no, I do. I have to put a lot of boundaries in place. I'm going this weekend to DC to hang out with some friends and celebrate one of my friends' birthdays. And I said to them, I was like, I'm going to get my own hotel room. Like normally, yes, we'd all be together. And I was like, nope, I'm going to need my own room because
Yeah.
I need to get away for a little bit. And, I know that's how it's going to be. I'm going to be happy to see them because I don't get to see them very often. And, I'm thankful that I have people that stick by me, and these are some friends that they have checked in with me all along the way, and I'm so thankful for that. But I do know, yeah, I'm going to get overwhelmed at some point and I will need to go have a little time by myself, and that's okay. So my brother is a music therapist and he works at a state mental institution in New Jersey. And he's the biggest advocate for that. He's like, you set your boundaries, you do what you need to do. He's like, you don't apologize. Like he's always giving me the pep talk. And I love it. I need that. So he reminds me it's okay. Like this is your time to be a little bit selfish. And I don't like that. It makes me uncomfortable, but it's reality. We take steps little by little. We're getting there. But yeah, this is when we do have to be selfish and take care of ourselves.
That is so huge to own your own grief. Like so many very fresh out of loss are like, oh, but I should go. And oh, I'm still people pleasing. And oh, should I be feeling this way? And oh, I don't want to make anybody upset. And it's like, no, no, no. You have to understand your grief, what it looks like, when it's probably going to hit. We could probably predict it, although it does surprise me sometimes. I'm like, oh, that should have been a
Yeah.
lot worse, but okay. And then say, hey, everybody, I need you to understand where I'm at and communicate how this could go down and what you need from people. And I think that's so appreciated because I recently have started to say very bluntly to people, this isn't going to work for me. I'm not going to go. And this is why. And they're like, thank you. Because they're thinking I'm doing just fine because of that I'm functioning. I don't know what people expect, that I'm just going to be in my room and sweatpants, I don't, well, I am, but you know what I'm saying, but but like not able to function. But it's like, okay, thank you for telling us because we had no idea that this was going to be difficult for you. We don't know what's going to be difficult and what's not. And I said, okay, well, sometimes I don't even know. So just buckle up. And I think that's so important that we communicate how we feel. Even if you're like, I don't know how this is going to go. I'm playing this minute to minute. I think people really appreciate that. Is there anybody in your life that didn't really get that? That kind of were like, I don't like how you're doing this?
I've had some radio silence, I guess, from some people. That's about it. Just, yeah, it surprised me. Some people that just don't say anything. And I don't know. It's not where I want to put my effort. I can't worry about why you're not talking to me or whatever the reason. Like I I have been amazed by the people that have shown up. I am so thankful. My family on both sides, my family and Steve's family, they are incredible. They talk about Sienna all the time. My brother talks about Sienna with his son. My sister-in-law talks about Sienna with her boys. So, I know there are many families that don't have that. So I'm very thankful that she is present on both sides of our family. And then I have the best friend in the entire world. She just gets it. It was Easter, and her daughter brought over flowers for Sienna. At Halloween, they brought her own little pumpkin. Like she's never forgotten. And I appreciate that so much. And she's the person that I can call her and be like, I need to go off. And she's like, all right, let it out. And
Love that.
I can say whatever with no judgment. And she just lets me ramble. And then by the end, I'm laughing.
Right.
Like I just know when I talk to her, I'm going to be able to get it out and feel better. And, just to have people like that, I can't worry about the people that aren't showing up. I wish I think what people don't understand is that you don't have to do a whole lot. Like just a simple text of, "Hey, I was thinking of you and Sienna today. I was thinking of you and Brody today." That goes a long way. Or I have friends who, yeah, they'll send me like a $5 Starbucks card and they're like, "Hey, I was thinking of you. Go get yourself a coffee." Like that's
Mm,
really sweet and it doesn't take a lot. I think sometimes people put too much pressure on themselves and they think like, I need to save the world. It's like, you're not going to fix this. Nothing is going to fix this. But just knowing that someone is thinking about my daughter means the world. And if you worry that you're going to upset me by saying that, it's the complete opposite.
mm.
It's become a thing now with the Sienna vans. Every time we travel, we see a Sienna van. I never even noticed them before, but now every time I see one, I'm like, "Hey, girl." And so when we travel, we always see them. We're like, okay, that's her coming with us. She's keeping us safe as we're traveling. And now my friends will do it. So when they see one, they take a picture and they send it and they're like, "Hey, Sienna was saying hi today." So I love that. It's something
Mm.
so simple, but it's her. She's present. She's everywhere. And
Mhm.
I love that.
So you believe in signs, huh?
Oh, yeah.
What are some of like because
Yeah.
I know the birds, like a cardinal or like a
Yeah.
rainbow in the far off, like, or a butterfly. Yes, we all have
Yeah.
those. Are
Yeah.
there any others that you are like, holy moly, like she just dropped in?
I think this is going to sound really weird, and
No such thing.
I've only really talked to my mom and my brother, I think, about this, but my nephew, his name's Benito, which I love. He's adorable.
So
Um,
cute.
yeah, he's the sweetest, but he has similar facial features to Sienna, so sometimes when I see him, it's like I don't know, like she's there too. It's very strange, but um, it can be really emotional, but I want to spend time with him and see him because I kind of see a little bit of her in
Yeah.
him. And my mom has said the same. Like they have, some of her pictures and his pictures. You put them side by side, and it's like, oh my gosh, they just look so alike. So I love that. And then, yeah, penguins, they're a big thing for us. So every time we see those, and they're everywhere this year for Christmas. I feel like before I struggled to find penguin stuff, and now it's like I almost bought myself penguin pajamas the other day, and
Do
I'm pretty sure
it.
they were for kids, and I don't even care. I'm like, even if they don't fit, I'm gonna get them, but they were adorable. So yeah, I think that the Vans and Cardinals for me, I always associated with my grandpa. So I don't know,
Same,
I
yeah.
don't feel that, but I know, everybody has their own, they have their own
Mhm.
thing,
Mhm.
and whatever that thing is, it just yeah, and it's been interesting now meeting other moms. I kind of learn their things. So then, if I see something, and I try to do the same thing and like take a picture and send it to them and just, be like, "Hey, I was thinking about your baby today and I saw this." So yeah, it's just a special way that they keep talking to us.
Yeah, and I heard if we don't acknowledge them, they don't go that they go away, like they stop. And I'm like, "No, I
Yeah.
see all of them."
Mhm.
I've had some weird ones lately, and I don't even know if I'll get into this. I'm going to have a podcast episode about this whole spirit baby world and all that. But I've had some weird ones where I'm like, are you messing with me? Like crazy things. I'm like, Brody, and I can like just picture him snickering, like
Yep.
I'm going to terrify my mother. Yeah, I don't know what I opened up when I was like, because there's so many layers to this, as you know. There's obviously the physical layer, especially when you try to conceive again.
Mhm.
There's a physical layer, there's an emotional layer, there's your mental space, and then there's some sort of spiritual layer where whether I liked it or not, I had to start thinking that way again because it was like I had to continue to try to still believe in miracles or try to still believe in magic because if horrendous things happen, why couldn't inexplicable, amazing things happen? And this took me a long time to get there. And I'll credit one of my girlfriends here for helping me get there. She's also a lost mama. And she was just like, why not? Why can't amazing things happen? And so when I finally opened up my brain to that, it was almost like a floodgate. There were all these wonderful signs and this weird little weight lifted off my chest. And I started to think if Brody could see me right now, which hopefully he can. I think him and Sienna are chilling. They're definitely boyfriend, girlfriend.
Oh,
I don't know what you
definitely.
think. All right. They're definitely hanging out, playing,
Absolutely.
swinging their legs, watching us eating. They're eating cookies. Like, look at our moms crying again. They're so lame.
She's a mess. Yep.
I love it. They're slingshotting the other little angel babies. I don't know. Anyway, but it helps me think that way. But if he could see me, I would just want him to be like, she's awesome. Like, she's my mom. I'm so proud of her. And I, even for Christmas, I was like, I want to have the Christmas that he would have really, really loved. And as so messed up and horrible as it is, it's like the goal, And then I started thinking, it's like, if, we want to expand our family. And so if any other future baby was watching, that sounds crazy. I don't know if that's true. If that happens, I don't know. But I'm just saying, let's just say hypothetically, if they were watching, would they pick me? Would they pick me? Would they say, yes, I want her as my mom? And so I think it's been really challenging, but to start to think like that has helped me make choices that have helped. And I don't know if you listen to like Mel Robbins or something, but I sometimes do. She said something like, you don't need motivation to start. You just need to start and then you get motivation. And I thought about that in the grief sense. And this might be a post coming up about this. I have no idea, but more so like, I don't feel like doing this, but if I do this, will some joy follow? If that makes any sense. And honest to God, Crystal, like it's been interesting. It's been really an interesting way of doing things. And I'm finding that it's working, and I say working air quotes, like I have a meltdown, but it's working in the sense where I can walk away with pride and say, I'm a good mother to my son. So crazy that we have to think this way, really. But when we say we're parenting from afar, this is what this looks like.
Yes. And I think that's something I wish more people understood is I think everyone assumes that I only associate Sienna with sadness, and that is not true. Like would I have wanted this to go differently? Absolutely 100%. She should be here and I shouldn't know you. That's a weird way to think about it.
Yeah.
It's the reality. But she still, she impacted my life. She made me a mother. She was incredibly beautiful and I got that whole experience. And as much as yes, I want her here, I'm also thankful that I had the time that I did and the experiences I did. And she's making moves. Like, yeah, she is having a huge impact. And, we have raised thousands of dollars in her name this year to, dedicate and donate to Weighted Angels. And, she's doing things that a typical, 10, 11-month-old baby wouldn't do. I think about it that way, that she has this impact on the world. It's not at all what I wanted. It's not, the way that I thought it was going to look, but that I'm thankful for. And, I think it's something that only other lost families really understand is they are bigger than this little short life that they had, and yeah, they are. She comes with me is the way I see it.
Absolutely.
Everywhere I go, she's there with me. And, I think you do the same, but like I have necklaces and bracelets and tattoos and like, it doesn't matter, like wherever I'm at, she's there. So, and I think we think the same that, if I hate the word blessed. I'm not going to say that, but if we're lucky enough or if we're able to, ever have another baby or whatever that looks like, yeah, they're going to 100% know about Sienna, hear about Sienna constantly to the point where it's probably annoying, but oh well.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing that's been really interesting. I met a woman at church who she lost a daughter over 40 years ago. And then I found out that my sister-in-law, her mother had also lost her baby, her first baby, which was over 40 years ago. So these are two women that they have, carried this around for years and years and years. And, I talked with them and the woman from church, she prayed with me. It's like they are still, they talk about their babies by name and their other children knew about their babies. And, that was when this wasn't as out in the open as it is now. It's still not as much as it should
Mhm.
be, but I'm thankful to see that there are women that, yes, they have carried this with them their whole lives, but the point they both told me was, you will find joy again. You will be able to continue to love. You will learn from this. And, they can say things to me that no one else can. If someone else said some of that stuff, I'd
So
probably be like,
true.
stop talking. Stop talking right now. You're done. But they walked it. They walked it. They walked the walk. So they get to say to me, yes, this is going to be possible for you. You can scream when you need to scream. You can cry when you need to cry. It can take as long as it needs to, but you will get there. So I'm just, there are steps along the way. And I'm like, yeah, these are people that I think either Sienna or God, I'm not sure which one, but they brought those people into my life so that I can get out of bed and keep going.
I truly think that is the thing. I think, and I'm happy you said that. I think initially our relationships with God are kind of like, wait. Let me get this straight. You're not the God that I thought. This is nothing that I thought before. So what does that mean? It's not like I don't believe in you anymore. It's just like, what is our relationship? Have I been doing this wrong? And so the conversation between God is different now. Do I think he did this? Absolutely not.
No.
Do I think he gets you through it? Yes, I do.
Yes, absolutely.
I do think you nailed it. He speaks through the people that we come in contact with, because there have been some words like that woman who spoke to you, like friends, that without that single statement from them, my day could have been horribly worse, which these are just a culmination of days. And that's all it is, just trying to get through each day. And then to still be in this mentality now, in such a positive mindset most of the time, is because of these words from everybody. And I don't know where we'd be without those words. And then you also said, Sienna, it's like, when you have a baby that's gone, what is your relationship with that baby? Where is this baby? Where are they in our lives? And I do talk to Brody. I say, Brody, are you going to send me a sibling? What are you doing up there? Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, Brody, I don't know what to do about this. What would you want me to do? What do you want your mom to do? Things like that. And that's the only thing we can do, is just talk to them. And it's comforting, whether they hear us or not. I like to believe they do. But understanding those two
100%.
relationships is huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was the struggle at first. Our pastor came over to our house just to sit with us.
Oh,
And
wow.
we were nervous. We're like, is this going to be like reciting all the Bible verses and let's bow our heads and pray? And because I think we would have kicked him out at that point. Because I'm sorry, we were mad. Like, how are you not angry when you don't get to bring your baby home? And there was none of that. He just said, he's like, you have had the worst, most unimaginable thing happen. It's awful, and we're here for you. And that was it. Like, he just let us talk. He let us say whatever. There was a lot of cussing going on. Like, let's be real, and there was this space to just be. And that's the kind of church I want to be in. That's the people I want to be around. Is we're not pretending we have this all right and together, but we're here for each other. And that's what I needed. That's what I was looking for. And it's why I continue to go. And I think it baffles some people. I had a friend who asked me, she's like, how do you still have faith? I'm like, there are people for hundreds of years that have prayed for things they didn't get. I don't know why. I can't make sense of that. But it's what you said. I'm not alone. I am getting through this. And I know that it is something bigger than me, because on my own, no, I wouldn't be doing it. No way.
So powerful. So powerful of a statement for you to say that. I know a lot of people's faith was affected by
Oh, yeah.
our babies. Like, then they are the ones struggling even more so than us. Isn't that crazy?
It rocked some people. Absolutely. Yeah. To the core. It does. It shakes your faith. And I will say, I was talking last night with the woman from church, because she was like, oh, I haven't seen you in a few weeks. And I said, yeah, I cannot walk in those doors right now. I think about last year and the anticipation of, being really pregnant and going to church and like, oh my gosh, maybe she's coming next week. And I just can't go there. But they have an option to do church online. So I do that instead. I feel like that's my way to still engage and connect, but no, I can't walk in there right now.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. it's knowing that it's just not going to be good for you. That's it. That's just knowing that there's some things that we kind of force ourselves to do. I feel like, all right, honey, I'll go with you to this. I don't really want to. I'll suffer through some small talk, but then we're GTFOing. But with certain situations, you're like, that's a hard pass. It's just not going to go well. And then I'm going to just not feel good. So let's not. And especially trying to keep our mental state. I mean, trying to conceive is a whole nother issue, which we could have another hour-long conversation about. And you're trying to balance your grief.
God, that's a whole,
It's like trying to balance grief, emotions, your physicality. And then it's the craziest mind effort the entire time. So that's all. I knew we were going to talk for over an hour. I'm concerned that book club tomorrow is going to be 9 hours long.
I only did 3 chapters.
Thank God.
Some people were like, do I have to read the whole book? I was like, oh God, no.
This is overachieving lost mothers. That's who you got.
I told you can't turn it off. We're still like that. You can't help it.
I'm so stoked for it because the only thing is we have to go around and introduce ourselves by our handles because I don't know everyone's names.
So I'm putting a little slide together, but that's what you're going to have to do. Is here's your handle, here's your actual name, here's your baby. Give a quick rundown.
It's so perfect. I'm stoked you set that up. Amen, sister. I think it's great. Well, I know I could talk to you for 1,000 years because we talk all the time, but we'll do this again.
Oh, and I'm coming to Atlanta. I can't wait. I'm
you
doing it.
Better.
It's going to be great.
I was thinking maybe doing something, just having, I don't know, but you should come. Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to Virginia. Ride. We're coming to Virginia, but we're still not close to you. We're Annandale. We're far.
Oh yeah.
That's where Michael's parents are from, or his family's from. So, but yeah, that would be so amazing to meet you in person and bring the hub and let's go.
It'd be awesome.
I want to leave you with the last word.
Sure. I feel like you always ask the question of what you would tell other people. I was thinking about that.
Perfect. You could do that, or what you want them to take away from this conversation. You just said so many profound things that it's.
Ooh, I don't know if I would say profound, but all right.
You have. I think you have.
I think there's. I think 2 sides. One, if you're the lost mom, just do what your heart needs. And whether that's jumping in, like we did, and advocacy or, bereavement care or whatever, it could be writing. Writing has literally saved me. I write all the time. I would just caution, you're so tempted to hide away and I can do it. I can spend days and days away from people and, not shower and wear the same sweatpants for 5 days. And then my husband's like, what are you doing? So I think just being cautious of that, yes, take your time and take time for you, but find those little ways to start to re-engage just so that you don't get trapped and stuck in a dark place. And then for people that are caring for a lost mom or lost parents, and please don't forget the dad, because they just, I don't know, I feel like people assume that they're totally fine because they carry themselves so well. But just, do the little things. Just reach out, say hello, send the text, drop something off real quick. It doesn't have to be elaborate, but don't shy away and say nothing, because we do notice and it hurts.
So true. Awesome, girl. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
And I know Sienna's so proud of Mama. I love it.
I know. And I think about, I'm like, Sienna and Brody, they're definitely buddies, causing some trouble. And I like it.
She saw him come 2 days after. She's like, about time.
Yeah. I've been waiting. Hello.
I've been waiting 2 whole days. Yeah. It's so funny. Oh, I love them so much. Yeah. All right.
And
love
he's
you,
a
girl.
Wolf, right? Wolf is his.
He's a wolf.
Yeah. So yeah, I was like, all right, we'll get a little wolf to go with the little penguin. It'll be perfect.
I love that so much. The wolf.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank
all right,
you.
Girl. Love you. Talk to you soon.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.
Ooh, a lot of information, guys, and I hope that something in there helped you in this journey in life after loss. Make sure you stick around. We have more episodes coming up next, and make sure that you hit subscribe to show your support. Here for you always, mamas, and until I see you again, take care of yourselves.